a chance to look over last month's minutes? Questions or comments? Motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any audience items?
I got one. My name's Joel Suija. I live in Lost Lakes. There for about 2 years, and I know we're getting a park that I see work being done. And I've talked to Jenny down here, and I've emailed the mayor a little bit. My not really concerned, but more curiosity is about the playground. I'd say over 75% of the lots have, house on them, people live in them. Tons and tons of kids in that neighborhood. And just like to see the playground sooner rather than later. And I'm wondering, from your standpoint, where do we sit?
As of right now, the commission has got kind of a wish list per se that we have shared with City Council on what we would like to see with the future of the parks. And that's all parks in town, not just Lost Lake.
Right.
Lost Lake is near the top of that list. The number one thing on that list for Lost Lake was the work that was done last summer, getting the trails through it and the tiling. And the city's actually put 3 rounds of tiling, I want to say, in there over the last 3 years because it's been a swampy mess.
Right.
And, or they're about ready to put the 3rd one in. I heard there's going to be some more. Yeah, there's going to be some more coming in because it's still pretty soupy out there when it rains. But we have a list, like I said, of everything included. It does contain a playground equipment on Lost Lake. That's not finalized. It could still be repurposed for other park. It could stay as green space. Mm-hmm. All of that's still in consideration. There's work over in 12 Oaks for a path around, some white rock added to the pond. There's linear park over off of Parker. So we've got them all kind of prioritized, and we'll continue that prioritization on what we want and continue to share that with the city. And then as funding allows over the next handful of fiscal years, we'll reprioritize what we want done first. And like I said, Lost Lake is at or near the top of that list. So it is something as funding comes available, we're going to look at and jump on.
So what can the residents of Lost Lake do anything to expedite this? Because for example, I have a kindergartner, and I'd hate for the playground not to be built until he's in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. Because he's past the point.
Fair point. My recommendation would to continue to come to these meetings and listen to the conversations we have. Unfortunately, we don't get a whole lot of even just audience to listen in. There were concerns about we were talking about a dog park, and until that got out, nobody came. And so just keep coming in, showing your interest. There are different grants and different things that can be applied for as well. We didn't even have some updated equipment on the square until a grant came in. And when the grant came in and covered, I don't know, like 2/3 of it, the city was like, well, we got funding to cover 1/3 of it. I mean, playground equipment is ungodly expensive, and I didn't realize it until I even got on the commission a handful of years ago. So those grants and different things like that make a huge difference. So, as you hear about those, you can share those. I think anybody can apply for grants for the city and help in that fashion. I mean, I don't think we necessarily want to go sell candy bars or door-to-door necessarily, but as those grants come available, they've helped other areas of the city develop a little bit quicker than what was originally planned.
Okay. And I do read the minutes and the agendas every month. I should start coming to meetings. Thanks for giving me what you have.
Thanks for your feedback. I'm up in Lost Lakes myself, so
okay.
I love seeing that develop, and I live right along the path, and I'm amazed by how many people walk that path every single night. So I know the park's getting use. We just also got to keep in our mind not every park's going to have equipment like that, so it's finding that balance.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
The motion to recommend council approve the request by Tracy Lund and the American Legion on Sailor Right for flags on the square with placement of flags at 5 a.m. on Friday, May 24th and 5 a.m. until
It's both.
Okay.
And Ms. Lund is here and she can.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want? Yeah.
Hi. Well, first of all, I just wanted to hand out from last year a flyer that was went through a few neighborhoods and then on the square, and then a program from the ceremony. And just to note, on the back of the program from the ceremony are all of the veterans that have been honored, which is really kind of powerful and neat to consider, because these folks have been from all over the place, and it's just something neat to have, and of course to recognize our veterans. And we would just like to ask that we have permission to put the flags up again. And what we're going to do, so we do not interfere with the sounds on the square, is hold off on quadrant 1. And I will come out on Saturday morning and do those at 5 a.m. And it'll probably be roughly, I can't say exactly, 300 will be on the square and then 100 around the Legion. I just make it look pretty. So, but roughly is the 400 is the number that was purchased for this. So if there's any other questions, I'm here to answer.
Are you planning a similar type of service? I was able to attend one 2 years
Well,
ago, couldn't last year. What are you kind of thinking?
Well, here are my limits. I am a citizen that purchased the flags and have donated any money collected has been given to the Legion for them to do as they wish. Last year, I opened up a bank account at Grinnell that I have given the auxiliary to take over. So there's been 2 deposited checks to the Legion. At the Legion, there are essentially 3 entities. There are the American Legion Riders, Post 232, there are the members, and then there is also the auxiliary, which is actually 3 different branches, but that congregates in one building. I am officially an auxiliary member, and I have asked them to take this from here, just so that it can be something for the auxiliary to do with that money as they wish. And as far as a service, we did ask, I sat down with Becky, we have requested the time and electricity, and right now it'll be up to the gentlemen, they meet on Tuesday evening, up to them if they are able to, pending membership availability, do that service. Last year it was absolutely incredible, and the year before, and it's something that Jason can vouch. It has to grow, but it's been started and people love it. It's absolutely beautiful. They went all out with the folding of the flags, the 21 gun salute. I mean, it's really incredible. And just somebody like myself, I had no idea what each fold of the flag represented. And I think it's really important to let our youth know. I did contact Dr. Mark with the superintendent of schools, and he put me in contact with band instructors and chorus instructors. And because we will still have school going on, this is an opportunity, but obviously it has to be separate. I mean, it would all be volunteer if they would like to decide to get together. So that's still kind of up in the air. But in order to grow something like that, I think it's imperative and crucial that the city and the Legion Club and members all join together in forces to unify this project, as well as our students. I know a few years ago we were able to take those American flags, we lined them up at the West Elementary School and had a Veterans Day program organized, and it was incredible to see the looks not only on the kids' faces but the veterans. I mean, there were tears. It was for them to be honored is very humbling. And I would say, as far as demographics go in our community, I would say we are flooded with Vietnam vets, which the Vietnam vets were not treated real great. And I see things like this as an opportunity for us to say thank you and to acknowledge their service. That wasn't a war that was well received, obviously, and was beyond and before a lot of our time. And but that's the demographic of vets that we are working with in our community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve setup on 5 a.m. starting on Friday, again on Saturday, and then the ceremony on Monday, May 27th, officially at 1?
I'll motion to recommend to council.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. And thank you, Tracy, for all your work on that. And do you have an update on the Sounds of the Square?
I do. The addition to the site plan, there is a table. Carol Easter with the Legion Auxiliary contacted me, and they would like to have a table to sell poppies for a fundraiser that they're doing. And so they also have an event that night at the Legion, and so she asked if they could, and it was asked after I turned in the original site plan. So that's what I'm here for.
Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
It's National Pop Day.
Yeah, okay.
It is May 24th.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the amended site plan? Sounds on the Square.
I'll motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. And tree board.
Arbor Day was the last Friday in April, and the Arbor League planted a tree at the elementary school and replaced the tree at K Park, and make a presentation to the city council next week for the Tree City USA.
The trees in Lost Lake are still wrapped on the bottom. Does that stay throughout the year?
I wasn't involved with the planning on those. I'd have to look and see what they got on there, Josh. I think, did they have gator bags on the bags, or is that?
I don't remember seeing bags. I think it was just green wrapping around it. I know there's a lot of deer, so I don't know if they.
Well, they
keep
need
that
to be. They
on
need to
there.
be protected. It's not so much during the summer as it is fall.
Yeah, that's where I wasn't sure if they left it on purpose for the deer to let them kind of cycle through this time of year, or so they don't.
Let me look and see what they've got on there, Josh. But they definitely need to stay protected at all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, man.
Staff report?
Do you want me to speak?
I will let you.
Oh, aren't you nice? So last time I was here, I think I mentioned that we were kind of in between city administrators, so I wanted to come back and provide you guys an update. So we did hire an interim city administrator. His name is Don Sandor. If you need any assistance from the city administration role, Don is here. Don comes to us via retirement, but prior to that, he was in Pleasant Hill and Oskaloosa, Waverly. But anyway, spent the majority of his last 10 years, I think, was in Pleasant Hill, and he was been retired for a couple of years, and I can't imagine being retired and wanting to come back out of retirement to go back to work, but that's what he wanted to do. So, no, Don's doing a great job, being a good asset to us, and we have hired a search firm to work towards getting a permanent solution, which we believe will probably have somebody in seat sometime. I would probably say end of third, probably beginning of fourth quarter before that's done. We'll probably be leaning on the boards and commissions at some point in time when we have some sort of meet and greet. If you guys want to come out and introduce yourselves, I will probably, when they get down to like 3 candidates or something, that you guys can be a part of. But we'll keep you guys informed as we move forward with that. But anyways, good addition to the city, and appreciate staff and everybody's time and getting us to this point. Looking forward to moving forward. I think there'll be some good things. I think all the boards and commissions will benefit. And I think you'll see participation from that too. A couple other quick things from our perspective. I do want to thank both Tracy and Bridget. Last week we had some conversations regarding this Flags on the Square program, as well as the Sounds on the Square. And I want to applaud both of those guys for working together and finding a solution that would work for both groups. And so I appreciate you guys' time and coming together on that. The other thing I wanted to comment too was I wish that Joel had stuck around here. So I'm going to pass that and I'll give you guys a copy. So Joel had initially reached out to me a couple of years ago before they moved to the community and asking about what's going on with that particular park. And so we did have some various emails back and forth, and we did have one on the 17th of April, which I'll share a copy of the email, and I think it kind of gives a good synopsis of where we're at, where you guys are at, what limits we have, what we've done. But specifically, I do want to make comment that, in the last couple, 2-3 years, I would say that we've put more money towards park development than we have in any previous time. And unfortunately, funding being what it is, without doing pretty major levy increases, we just kind of came to a point this year where we had to focus our money in other places. So when we go back and look at over previous calendar year with the improvements that was done to Lost Lake, 12 Oaks, and Simmer Park, I think that we were pushing like $300,000 in improvements there. And in the previous year, I think we had pushed another 150 or something out in a couple other improvements. Am I right when I say that? So when you really look at what we have done, although there isn't a playground in that particular area, I do think we obviously want to get to that point. But I'd echo what Josh says. A year ago at this time, you didn't have, the nice walking trail and the other thing that's up there. I know we did the same thing down in 12 Oaks by putting a shelter house down there and a trail connector down there. I know we've got some work to do around the pond. But I think the other thing that's important to note is that in the last, if you go back 5 years ago, we didn't have the number of park areas that we have now, because all of these new developments have come online. So as they come online, now we have to find a way to fund. 5 years ago, remember, we didn't even have a playground out at the sports complex. Put that playground out there. We've put an improvement down to the square, and done the infrastructure improvements on the other one. So unfortunately, we can't get to it quick enough, obviously, but within the majority of the areas that we do have new residents that are popping in there, there's parks and particularly playground within walking distance of a lot of those areas. So again, I think we'll get there. Josh, I appreciate your comments. I think you were just dead on, with exactly how you put it. But anyway, I just wanted to at least, comment to that. And like he said, we had, emailed back and forth, and appreciate everybody's desire to want to grow. And hopefully we can find more funding soon. And I would echo that. If you know of any money sitting around out there that people want to give out, we're certainly welcome to take. Anyway, do I have anything else on staff? Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything from Public Works?
I've got one thing for Public Works, if you can share it.
Okay.
I don't know if they're looking at the driveway in and out of the sports complex or down. Just the rain that we've had has really put a lot of potholes in it. The speed bumps that are in there are washing away sometimes they're back. The spikes that are holding them down are sometimes pointing up. Just something to take a look at.
Okay.
Did they add some rock out there earlier this?
They added a little bit of rock, but
Okay.
this is kind of down just before the concession stand,
Yeah.
where the speed bumps are, and then
Okay.
kind of up through there. Somebody, what's that?
It's
Yeah.
a huge.
There's a huge hole. Somebody decided to put some of the red dirt that we use for the ball fields in there, and obviously that just made it worse.
Yeah.
It made it a muddy mess when the rain did come, and then people were spinning out in it, dug it even deeper. There's a pretty big hole, along with a bunch of little ones and the speed bumps. So
We hope it works on them.
yeah, take a look at it and see what can be done.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Anything from the commission?
I've got one thing, so I'm gonna keep talking to you.
Okay.
I've had conversations with the city, and so I kind of wanted to bring this to the group. We don't have a whole lot of meetings. Is there a need maybe looking at going quarterly with this meeting? Other thought I've had, well, since I've talked to the city about this, is a couple years ago during the summer, we went to all the parks. Do we reconsider, and at least through the summer, look at having these meetings at the parks, seeing what the needs are, connecting with the community a little bit more to try to get people out to them, and then maybe through the late fall to early spring, look at going quarterly with the meeting when there isn't a whole lot. My biggest concern is issues like, whether it's a change to a site plan or something new comes up, if it comes up last minute, it might be hard, or we might have to do a ad hoc meeting. We can't make a vote or anything since it's not an agenda item, but I just wanted to kind of throw it out to the commission and see what their thoughts.
I like that idea, and I like the idea of getting out in the community. I just feel like people don't know we exist, we do, and it would bring, I think, opportunity agree. We should definitely do that and, have eyes on what's going on. Because, like, when you say Lost Lake, I don't even know where you're about that. So.
My only thought on that is not knowing when funding will be available. If we're visiting all of them by, how does things shift in the time that we're waiting? Yeah.
And it could, but it could also give us an idea if we can get the community to show up to learn what they want out of it. Do we want something different? We looked at Simmer Park maybe being a dog park, and that clearly didn't go over well. But if we had a meeting out there and said, this is what our thoughts are, what are your thoughts? Are you good keeping it a green space? Rather than doing that,
So
it might have.
Ankeny will do ice cream or popsicles or something at the park. Are you thinking something like that?
If we can get
or
funding
it-
for it. Popsicles.
Yeah.
We might be able to throw a couple bucks at
Yeah.
that.
We can do that.
I mean,
Like,
We can do
if we look at
I like-
sponsors
that might be
for
fun.
that, I don't know, and then bring the neighborhood together.
I didn't
Josh, were you actually held your meetings?
Yeah,
You
the
actually were holding
official
your
meeting.
We held the official meetings.
Yeah.
And we could still do that and still give out popsicles or ice cream sandwiches or something. And
Raising cups are way cheaper.
There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
they're not as fun though.
Wow, but
I would
I
be
I like my big old ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
So let me back into your funding thing again real quick too, because one of the things that we're going to be really putting main focus on, both through Dawn as well as our next city administrators working towards more strategic planning, and as well as that having like a 5-year plan laid out. And so just because we can't say that we're going to get you funding this year, we'll at least have a plan and we'll be able to start picking off at that. And so I think meeting at those parks would be valuable to take a look at what's out there and maybe what, globally you may like to see out there, even though we can't say, hey, we're going to give you funding next month. Seeing it versus seeing a drawing from Snyder Engineering, may make a big difference. And I think going out and doing those things in the spring, summer months would be great, really.
Is that something we could do to where we keep it monthly during the summer and go quarterly for the second half of the year?
There are 0 requirements in the code as far as how often you have to meet. Okay, we just have to have a standing commission. So your meeting schedule would be totally dependent on this commission and what you want to do. And 5 years ago, this commission was 5 members. We added it back to 7. We've got another possibility to fill the seat back up. So we'd like to see more involvement there, but there's 0 requirement from the code level as far as what, when, and how often. And you don't have to meet here either. That can be wherever you want. We have to publish that as far as where your meeting is going to be. We do have.
And we did do that
Right.
because that was shortly after I started.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could even start small at even be at a town square, even talk to about, or have something to get feedback.
Add another table to
Add
that.
another table. Just scribble it on there.
That, yeah.
We could just set up our own table. It's our park.
Just keep in mind open meeting. You got to be careful.
There's nothing formal.
Okay, that's right. Just keep in mind your open meeting.
So if we tried to turn it into a community thing, would we have our meeting at 6 and do community members invited for the ice cream part or whatever it was at 6:30? Or how would you do that?
I think would need a little more.
Yeah,
planning.
I
A
would
little
say
more
you
thought,
would do your
yeah.
meeting initially, let it close so she can finish her notes,
I
and
agree
then
with that.
do the open meeting, or not really a meeting,
Right.
just kind of a meet and
The
Yeah,
greet.
open
like
house.
we
Yeah.
would hand out after that.
Because when we held the meetings at the parks a few years ago, it was just the meetings, and then we would just
Right.
we
Yeah,
would
I
just
was
kind of have
there
our own
then,
open
yeah.
discussion. But very rarely, I don't think we didn't have any audience members.
No, but I think all the communities anymore have their own Facebook pages. Reaching out to somebody in that area to get something thrown onto that page to
Sure.
draw up more people to show up.
Oh yeah.
And try to advertise it per se in that fashion. And if nobody shows up, and
You guys could have a Facebook page.
I don't know Facebook.
I don't
I'm not going to run it.
Yeah, you were
that was a
you're in
blank
headlights there for a second.
I have to run
It's
the
like your
little
brain
league.
was-
I have to run the little league. That's I'm already told I'm not doing it.
Rich is
Not get my
5
ugly sign
websites
email.
and 3 Facebook pages
You're lucky to email from me.
maxed out.
Responses.
Sure, ready, you know.
So we're gonna move next month to a park?
I think you'd have to have an actual agenda item to make the,
Do it.
although, you could probably move your location, but you're gonna have to talk about, you have to have an agenda if you wanna take action.
Yeah, to take
there's
action
no
to change the
action.
frequency.
Yes.
But for the location, I didn't think.
No,
We didn't-
previously.
we didn't have to do
we didn't,
that.
No, to change your
Post it.
location, you just
So-
have to post it, right?
Yeah. And it would be published. The other times that we've done that, I mean, I think we had good weather, so we were able to meet at the parks each time. And then we also put a note on the door just so,
Yeah.
just
In
to
case somebody
remind,
can look.
in case anybody comes here. So,
Is there a park we want to start at if we're?
Sounds to me like Ollie's never been to Lost Lake.
I was just
Probably
gonna say,
gonna
take
be
it
cool.
off that Lost Lake. Sounds like I need a lost, so.
And I think that was, in our priority, that was number one initially, so it's good
To
to
start?
start.
Sounds fun.
We'll plan on that.
So June 3rd, Lost Lake.
Jason's fun.
Who? Oh. Getting off
Alright,
work.
anything else? All right, we'll adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn, sorry.
Yep.
All right.
That's exactly how that went.
If you guys do ever want to be at a Sounds on the Square, that is my whole vision for having this on the square, is having the nonprofits or groups or whatever come there and spread their news, you know.